Welcome in, everybody, to Extreme Radio, presented by GracePointe Healthcare. Go to GracePointeHealthcare.com, request your appointment online, mention you're with 8-Man Extreme, and get $20 off your new patient office visit fee. GracePointe Healthcare, modern medicine the old-fashioned way. We're also sponsored by Dr. Sterling Foster. Go to drsterlingfoster.com for all your digestive issues and chiropractic needs.
We went down to Alabama this past Friday night.
Oh, no.
And the trip was great. You know, we are super thankful for all the hospitality. You know, the only complaint I have about and I didn't see one, so there might not be one. There might be one. I didn't see it. You know, the only complaint I have with Alabama, there was no Jets Pizza. Listen, if you're in Clarksville, Fort Campbell, Springfield, they're actually getting ready to put one in Goodlettsville right there up north of town. If you're in any of these areas, you need to go get your Jets Pizza because it's always a great time to say Jets, let's get Jets. I had a busy weekend this last weekend. We had a game on Thursday. I also had my anniversary on Thursday. I went shopping. I have no money. Friday, we went to Alabama. Drove back yesterday. This weekend, got a game Friday. Birthday party Saturday. Game Saturday. I don't have time. I'm broke. So guess what I did?
You
got to give your guy, you got to give our guy Joe Graves a chance. IHateBuyingInsurance.com. Just go check them out. That's all I'm saying. Go give them a look.
We are officially halfway through the MTAC season, ladies and gentlemen. We are barreling along, getting closer and closer to the MTAC championship on November 9th. And we're going to show you a special graphic that will soon be on our website. It's not going to be on there yet until about week 8, I want to say.
We're going to wait a little bit closer.
Probably about week 8 is when it's going to be up there. But you can see it on stream here. It is the 2019 8-Man football playoff bracket. So this is how special thanks to Coach Jordan Flanders, Vice President of the MTAC board, for giving us the clarification on this after the show last week because we were not sure how the seeds would face off. So it is the number 1 seed in the North. They play the winner of the game for the number 2 seed in the South versus the number 3 seed in the North. So it doesn't matter whether it's a lower seed, high seed, or whatever. That is set in stone. So as you can see by the playoff bracket, we are halfway through the season as of now. And as it's notated on the bottom, the playoff seeding is based on winning percentage of in-division games. And yes, this is up to date by this past weekend's games. Made this playoff bracket last night. So if the season were to end today, it would be the Colts and the Eagles have a bye week hosting the semifinals, but in the first wild card rounds, quarterfinals, whatever you want to call it, the number 2 seed in the South, it would be a coin toss between Lancaster and Franklin Christian because they have the same in-division record and they don't have a head-to-head situation.
But what about their common opponents, Spence?
Common opponent. I'm going by the 2017 bylaws, my friend. We haven't seen the 2019. We haven't seen the 2019 bylaws. But you look at common opponents between the two. Lancaster, to this point, there have been no common opponents other than Swanee.
And CCS.
That's right. CCS.
So Lancaster would hold the tiebreaker.
Because that is true.
It's true.
If there's a tiebreaker based on common opponents. But
it's dang true.
By 2017 bylaws, because there's no 2019 bylaws posted on the MTAC website, that's what this bracket goes off of. So it would be a coin flip. But if you're going by the 2019 laws that are supposedly what it is, if that is their chosen common opponent in the opposite division, then it would be Lancaster hosting number 2 seed in the North. But by 2017 bylaws, it would be Lancaster FCA for a coin flip. And their opponent, number 3 seed in the North, it would be another coin flip between Bowling Green and the Tennessee Heat. But you look at their common opponents through week 5. You look at the...
They both beat Lighthouse.
Yes, they both beat Lighthouse, so that is voided. One of them lost to CC. Both of them have lost to CCS. Neither of them have any common opponents through week 5. So that would be a coin toss.
Other than those 2 games.
So that would be a coin toss. On the other side of the bracket, whoever faces off against the Eagles, it would either be the Patriots. They have the number 2 seed in the North based on winning percentage of individual games. It would be the Patriots and the Riverside Knights. So that's what the playoff bracket would look like.
They play each other back-to-back weeks.
And, of course, the dates and times for both of the first and second round of the playoffs are to be determined. 7 p.m. is when the MTAC Championship is on Saturday, November 9th. Location still to be determined on that, but the backup location is Ezell Harding.
How about them Titans? So mad I didn't start their defense. Oh, my gosh.
Do you remember 2 years ago, whenever I would mention the Titans, and you kept looking at me and saying, who cares on air?
Who cared about them back then?
And for the first time, you mentioned it on air before me.
Who cared about them back then? We're talking about now.
You know what we're also talking about now? 8-man football. Helmet
Exactly.
schedules, top to bottom. We are halfway through the season. It's amazing.
You know what I want to talk about is leading my fantasy opponent by 20 points. But anyways.
You're leading by 20 points now.
I was supposed to lose by 20 points. I'm leading by 20 points.
You got games going on right now, and you got 3 more through Sunday and Monday night. So let's see how those go down. Bowling Green Christian Academy was on a bye week, as was Franklin Classical School, but we had 2 Thursday games. One of the few times we've had 2 games occur on a Thursday. I believe we had that situation happen last year, unless that got moved to Fridays.
No, I think it was 2 Thursdays.
It was 2 Thursdays.
Anyways.
So we start first with the game we were not at on Thursday the 5th, the barn burner between the Tennessee Heat hosting the Lighthouse Christian School Lions. The Heat got it done 56-50, and the Heat have more of a chance of getting into the playoffs now with only 5 teams in the North, and with the Tennessee Heat, they are 1-1 in the standings in division right now, so they definitely control their own destiny on trying to get into the postseason. We already mentioned it several times, so the Lions won't get too much into that. But regardless of any playoff seedings implication like that, both teams played like they knew very well what was at stake, and they were giving it their all.
And Spencer, they play who this week?
We're gonna get over that later in the show, man.
Just hear me out. Just hear me out.
I wait until after.
Who did the Heat play this week? Fine.
I wait until
I'll
after.
look up the helmet schedule.
James, you're breaking the formula.
No, I'm
we
not
go
breaking.
over
I've got a
the
point.
game.
I got a point.
I know you do, but we're going over the game.
Oh, it doesn't matter. I should know anyways. Anyways,
we recap
but
the game,
hey,
and then I tell people who they're playing
we're talking
next.
about
You're breaking the
playoffs here,
formula.
Spence.
Yes, but you're breaking the formula.
Anyway, so this was a great ball game. It's kind of deceiving though, and I'll tell you why. And this is not to downplay anybody. Brandon Goolsby, 278 yards passing, 6 touchdowns. Just a great game that he was able to have. But the reason it's deceiving is Carter Sutton had 6 catches for 201 yards, 5 touchdowns. Also had 66 yards rushing and 5 tackles. But a lot of those, I got a chance to watch the film, a lot of those touchdowns coming on yards after the catch, YAC. So great game by Carter Sutton. Brandon Goolsby, good game. Lighthouse, Jamari Teague, Christian Sharp, Aiden Hooper, what a baller. We talk about the Heat side, and I haven't pulled Lighthouse's stats yet, but at least, you know what, I do have the game recap that where we can keep the Tennessee High School football app updated. By the way, if you don't have the app.
And you don't have the bell on.
If you haven't added these teams to your download the app, add the teams, and bam, you got it. But Aiden Hooper, I'm looking at the touchdown passes right now because I want to get an accurate count of who Lions scored on their first play of the game. Teague ran for a touchdown. Goolsby to Sutton touchdown. Pass to Christian Sharp. So that's 1 for Hooper. Let's see. That's Hooper ran it for a touchdown. Let's see. He threw another touchdown. So that's 2 touchdown passes, 1 touchdown run. I want to get this accurate. 3 touchdown passes and a touchdown run. And let's see. That's it. So 3 touchdown passes and a touchdown, rushing touchdown. Crazy stats. Just insane. Great game for both of these teams. Lighthouse just so close to the Bowling Green game, so close with the Heat game. It's it's a shame that they sit at 0-4, but it's a very deceiving 0-4, I think. And at the same time, you could say, well, yeah, they're 0-4, but 2 of the games they almost won. Well, but they ended up losing. They didn't close the game out. So you could look at it both ways, but great game for both of them. I enjoyed watching the film. I still got a little bit more to watch, but really enjoyed watching the film. And, it was a lot of fun.
was a great game. A great game to recap on that. Of course, the Lions 0-4 in the season, looking for their next win. The Lions go into a bye week next week as they were originally going to play the Knights of Sacred Heart. They have a bye week before they travel to Ezel Harding and the Tennessee Heat. They have a quick turnaround after facing off against the Lions on Thursday. They actually have 8 days to rest before they play the Franklin Classical School Knights down here in Franklin. And of course, the game that we got to see, the opening game for the Tennessee School for the Deaf, the Vikings traveled on the road to Springfield against the South Haven Christian School Patriots. The first time that these teams collided, it ended in a 56-20 score. The Patriots just red hot off of their first win since 2017, and they continue marching along as the Patriots are 1-0 in the division right now. And we've already talked about this a little bit on prior shows, but with their matchup in White House against the Christian Community Colts, that could very well be for first place
Spencer,
in the
you're
North.
getting ahead of it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's this upcoming game.
I'm getting ahead. I'm breaking the formula.
You gonna break the?
I'm breaking the formula.
I'm gonna break the formula. You're gonna break the formula. There's no formula. We do what we want. This is our show.
But 56-20, fantastic game between the Vikings and Patriots. We're still waiting.
Can't believe you did that.
We're still waiting for ESPN to pick up that
what a
catch by Lorenzo
from Curry.
Yeah,
Curry.
I couldn't even get my call out on that. It was everyone in the press box, all of us were just amazed by that. Although Curry's catch wasn't enough to get the W for the Vikings, but a really impressive performance on the road, especially against the Patriots.
After driving for 3 hours, and then and that's your first game. They did a lot of good things. There's a lot of things that they need to clean up. They got a big game coming up. Here's the Jerry Williams. Passing, he wasn't able to do a whole lot. 13 carries, 105 yards, 2 touchdowns from the quarterback position. All around, I thought it was a good performance. Tristan Davidson, 10 tackles on the day with a tackle for loss. And Jerry Williams had a fumble recovery that was forced by Malcolm Williams. And so a great job from them. Their first game of the year. Of course, they got a big in-division game coming up this week, but we'll talk about that. And also, how about from South Haven? Just everybody contributed. No player scored multiple touchdowns other than Andrew Crawley, who was a perfect 3 for 3, 57 yards, 2 touchdowns, and they were both caught by Manny Dang, who had those 2 catches for 54 yards. I mean, South Haven's offense didn't have to do a ton. It was pretty easy going. But Drew Atkinson, his only carry was for a touchdown. Estevan Covington got a touchdown carry at the end of the game. You look on the defensive side of the ball, Alex Martinez with 8 tackles. He led the team. And Noah Starnes, Ray Lopez, and Isaac Taylor all had a fumble recovery. So great job from South Haven. Good win. And great scheduling, too, to have a long week to get ready for this game coming up this Friday.
Yeah, the Patriots have their tough game against the Colts on the road. And for the Vikings, they have a Thursday game against the South Carolina School for the Deaf and Blind. Going into Friday's games, of course, start with the only in-division matchup of the night. And for the Knights, 52-0 victory over the St. Andrews Swanee Mountain Lions. They are right now the Mountain Lions 0-3 on their season, only playing 3 games, 0-3 in the South. But the Knights just continue to push along, and for their first in-division game, it was a fantastic evening for Lancaster Christian on their home turf.
So far this season, how about this stat, Spence? So far this season, out of 23 games, you want to know how many teams have won at home? It's been 15 times the home team has won out of 23 games. Well, back it up. Hang on. 15 out of 21. Pardon me, because I didn't count the Evangel game or the Freedom game where Tennessee won on the road. But out of 21 games this year, 15 times the home team has won. A massive home field advantage this year. I don't know that we've ever seen another year where it's been like this, but the road teams this year, just tough with travel. But Swanee, I thought they gave a good effort. Yeah, they got shut out. 50 points was kind of like it's funny. 50 points was like the mark that, okay, if you score 50 points, you're going to win. More than likely. Lighthouse was an exception. Another exception, Easel Harding. 50 points scored on the road. Still wasn't enough in Bama. But 52 points scored by, I think it was 52, scored by Lancaster. Great game from Deuce Bragg. I'm trying to get his stat. Again, I don't want to misrepresent what happened in the game. Get his stats pulled up. I got a chance to watch that one as well. Great game. Deuce Bragg just continues to show up. TJ Robbins had a good night. And how about this, Spence? I just saw this. Deuce Bragg threw his 50th career touchdown pass Friday night.
Congratulations.
And he
to
finished
Deuce.
with 53, either 53 or 54, somewhere in there. Yeah, I don't have all the Lancaster stats up yet, but just crazy game from Deuce Bragg. TJ Robbins, like I said, showed up. And big win for the Knights. Big divisional win for the Knights. For Swanee, it hurts. It really does hurt. But I think that Coach Hargis, for the situation he's been in all season, he was really able to get his guys, rally his guys. Caleb McLean's done great. I'm very impressed with Cam Robinson. Yeah. I think that Lancaster has definitely established themselves as a team to beat.
Lancaster, a team to beat for sure as they continue their regular season. They travel to Bowling Green Christian Academy next week. And for the Mountain Lions, they have another tough in-division game as they host the Ezel Harding Eagles.
Here you go, Spence.
4 p.m. on
Four
Friday.
touchdown passes, so he finished with 53.
So
Jordan Horde had 2 touchdown runs. Jacob Anderson had a fumble recovery. So
his first touchdown on the night broke his 50th touchdown pass in 8-man football. Congratulations to him. Before we get to the inter-conference games per se,
interstate game,
both interstate games, one important thing, I'm going to throw an important stat line at you.
Hit me.
Not a stat line. I'm not going to hit you. We're too distant away. But
that's right. You couldn't hit the outside of a barn door with a shotgun.
You know the earliest team this year to finish their in-division games and essentially lock their playoff fate?
Let me guess. Swanee.
No.
Lancaster.
Correction. The first team to lock their playoff fate by finishing all of their in-division games.
Is it? I don't know.
It's Bowling Green. They play their last in-division game on September 28th on the road against the Heat. All the other teams, their last division game is either
so you're not saying like up to this point right now.
Yeah.
You're saying the first team this season that's going to – okay, I got what you're saying. You threw me off there for a second.
Yeah,
it's all right.
Yeah, so the last in-division game for Bowling Green is played on September 28th, so they will essentially know where they're going to be in the playoffs if they're in or not, or it could be one of those situations of they have to play it out, just like the Heat did last year where they had that stretch of all 5 of their in-division games, and they had to wait 4 weeks essentially to figure out how they were going to get seated in the postseason.
Well, for Bowling Green, they're going to finish with the Tennessee Heat on the 28th and then sit for 2 weeks and then play the Freedom Cowboys to close the season out.
Exactly.
And you know that if you had our 2019 helmet schedule on your phone.
If you had it.
Or print it out.
All the other schools, their final in-division game is either on October 4th.
Man, that did not help me at all.
We got NFL Red Zone. It's great that football is back, but it's a little bit distracting when we have Red Zone on our television here at the GracePointe Healthcare
Turn
Studio.
it off.
No.
All right. Well, don't complain about it.
I wasn't complaining about it. I was just saying it's a little bit distracting for you.
You were straight up complaining that football was back.
For Week 9 and Week 11, that is when some teams will finish up their in-division regular season games. Week 11 has only 2 teams finishing that up, but it's going to be very interesting down the stretch is that there are a lot of games that may or may not determine their fate in the playoffs. It's going to be interesting.
Sorry, what'd you say? I'm too focused that I didn't start this Titans defense. Sorry.
Talking about interstate games, we'll start with the one we were not present at. Riverside Christian Academy got it done against the Freedom Cowboys in their home Knights Stadium in Fayetteville, 56-20. The Knights showing that they are also a team to beat that has only taken 1 loss in division to the Ezel Eagles.
Well, and they were in that ball game up until the fourth quarter.
They were close in it, but 56-20, as I've said prior, anytime the Freedom Cowboys play anybody in MTAC, it's always a close game because both sides fight till the very end. And especially for Freedom, even though they were lost by 36, it's one of those scores that is also deceiving of how the actual game went down.
Well, Freedom coughed up the ball, a crazy amount, 2 or 3 times. And that just, that stumped him. But David Black, I can't say enough. The dude, let's see, 1, 2. I know I probably should have written this down before the show, but again, who cares? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 touchdown passes from David Black. 2 of them to his brother. That's cool. Anyways, just a great game from Riverside. Defensively, I liked what John Knotts, Riley Hall, and of course you got Coach Rizal coming in there. And I love what Riverside's been able to do with the quarterback situation. David Black, of course, coming back. Jake Rubelski was the starter last year as a freshman. I love that they've been able to use Rubelski as a closer and just let him kind of cycle in and do a couple different things here or there. So a great situation for Riverside. Big win, kind of evened up Tennessee and Alabama. Overall in the season, it didn't even up, but Friday night at least they were evened up because they got the win, and then the loss came in the next game we're going to talk about.
We are excited to see how Riverside performs throughout the season, especially with their next tough in-division matchup, which we'll talk about it later, but it very well looks like it's going to be a battle for who gets third place in the MTAC playoffs as Riverside hosts the Franklin Christian Falcons. And as for the Freedom Cowboys, don't have their schedule right in front of me, but I'm sure they either have a game next week or they're going.
They play Evangel next week. Evangel.
They play Evangel next week, which was the team that we were at, and I'm sure James is going to praise.
That's a great segue,
he's going to praise on and on and on about their hospitality.
It was great.
It was amazing. At the end of the day,
if someone does a good job on something, guess what you do? You compliment them.
At the end of the day, there was a football game to be played, and Ezel could not get it done on the road, but they stayed in it throughout the entirety until the last minute. 82-55, the defending national champions got it done on their home turf against the new kids on the block. And for the Lightning, I mentioned it at the top of the broadcast, the 38-man roster compared to the 20-man roster that the Eagles had, it somewhat came into play. But for the Eagles, they just kept fighting back and keeping that mercy rule from being run. And it was just a fantastic game throughout to call.
You know what came into play for the Lightning? Tyler Henderson, their senior quarterback. Not a lot of people up here in Tennessee know about him, except for maybe CCS. But 11 of 13, over 300 yards, 6 touchdowns. He did throw an interception. 300 yards, 6 touchdowns. It was insane. Noah Shears had over 100 yards rushing. He had a touchdown. Jet Lodge. First off, what a great name.
Oh, yeah.
Props to his parents on the naming the kid. Jet Lodge, 4 catches, 219 yards, 4 touchdowns. I want to see who their defensive leader was. Will Parker, 14 tackles and 4 tackles for loss. Just a great job by Evangel coming out. Coach Tim Smith had the guys ready. We did the drive alongside, Ezel. We weren't with Ezel, but just like Ezel did. And I'm not gonna make excuses for him. But man, it wasn't a terrible drive, but it's still a drive. It's still 3.5 hours. It's a drive.
It took us 4 hours.
Well, it did. It took us 4 hours. We hit a little bit of traffic, but Ezel, it was a great experience for him. Kind of I wouldn't say a wake up call because they didn't really need a wake up call. But it was a good chance for them to see, okay, if we do get to go to the NHSA tournament in Florida, this is the level of competition we're going to be playing. Because obviously, even if you're not a great team in terms of the South, and I'm not saying Ezel is not, but even if you're not a great team in terms of the South, in your state, you might be the best. And that's who's got to go. So now they know the level of competition that they could face in Florida. Either them or Lancaster is going to end up going down. And it's a whole new level. But huge shout out to everyone who was able to watch the game. It was a great experience. So I had a lot of fun just overall, with the game and everything. Will Parker, fumble recovery, 2 forced fumbles. I had to throw that in there.
Yeah, and the NHSA director, Hank Dennis, was able to watch that game and saw a lot of good potential preview of some of the teams he might be inviting
He's
to
trying
that
to take a
tournament
look
down
at
in
them.
Dayton. But for the Eagles, they get right back home and they go right back on the road, traveling to the Mountain Lions at 4 p.m. on Friday. And as for the Evangel Lightning, as we said, they host the Freedom Cowboys.
So, Spencer, let's why don't you hop on 8manextreme.com, brand new website that just rolled out. By the way, I do want to say this. It is a brand new website. We are still working kinks out. We want to give a huge thank you to everyone who has sent in messages that through the whole contact us section, telling us, hey, we missed a roster spot there. Standings might be messed up. Big thank you to y'all. We want to make this a work in progress, and it is. And so every time that you guys let us know, hey, you guys missed something here or there, that's great. Of course, put your name, put your email so that we can respond to you and let you know that it's fixed, and thank you. Don't just anonymously send something out there, but thank you to everyone who sent the corrections so that we can make this the best 8-man football website that's out there in the South and in the country. That's always the goal. But head over to 8manextreme.com where you can get our 8=11 shirt for $20. But, Spencer, you want to hit our standings?
So as you're seeing on the screen here, we have the 8-man football playoff bracket for the Middle Tennessee Athletic Conference. That's basing off their standings. The Christian Community School Colts are 2-2 overall. 3-1 overall. Overall, they are 2-0 in division. They are the number 1 seed in the North if the season were to end today, and they would have a first-round bye. Looking at the rest of the MTAC North, the South Haven Christian School Patriots, they are 2-1, 1-0 in division, and they would be the number 2 seed in the North if the season ends today. Number 3 seed is a tie for the 1-2 Bowling Green Christian Academy Warriors. Overall are 1-1 in division. They matched that 1-1 record in division with the Tennessee Heat, who is 1-4, and the Lions of Lighthouse Christian School 0-4 overall, 0-3 division record. And we get to the MTAC South. The Eagles, number 1 seed if the season ends today. That's because of their 3-1 overall record, 2-0 in division. Lancaster Christian Academy Knights, 4-0 overall, only 1-0 in division because they have only played their one game in division as of this past Friday against the Mountain Lions. And of course, the Falcons are tied with the in-division record at 1-0 with the Lancaster Christian Academy Knights with the 3-1 record overall. And we get into, of course, that number 3 seed. Of course, the Franklin Classical School Knights are 0-2 in division, 1-2 overall, and the Mountain Lions 0-3, both overall and in division. But we get to the number 3 seed of the South, which is the Riverside Christian Academy Knights, who, if the season were to end today, they'd be number 3 seed because they are 2-1 in division. And speaking of the Riverside Knights, we've got the head coach. After our recording software had a little bit of a hiccup a few weeks ago, we've got him in full swing on the show. Mr. Travis Creasy, the head coach for the Riverside.
Travis Creasy.
Yeah, same difference. Head coach for the Riverside Christian Academy Knights. Coach, I asked you this a few weeks ago. I'll ask again, how are things down in Fayetteville?
Man, they're great. It's a great time of year. It's always nighttime in Fayetteville, so there you go. Shout
out. I see what you did there.
There you go. It's better than Roll Tide, right, James?
We don't talk. Hey,
You're talking about this off of the show. You were mad on Saturday after that Vols loss.
Including Vandy. We'll leave MTSU, TSU out of this. Including Vandy, at least one Tennessee team won this weekend.
There you go.
Right.
There you go.
Man, I about threw my computer through the wall last night. Oh, my gosh.
Jeez.
Well, at least y'all handled business. And listen, y'all handled business Friday night with Freedom. I don't know that you guys had ever played them. That was kind of a cool setup. Kind of wish we had been there. But it looked like you guys, it was almost like a marriage. You guys took control right off the bat, kind of like a wife takes control of the marriage right off the bat, and you just run things. But you guys took control right off the bat. Freedom made some mistakes, and you guys were able to come out with the win. What did you guys see from Freedom that you guys were able to kind of pick up on the trends and figure out how you guys could beat them?
I mean, they're disciplined. They're going to do what they're going to do. And when they have success, they're going to do it again. And it's kind of one of those the old saying, you're going to run it till you stop it. And eventually we were able to do that. And our guys played hard nose. And, last year in that situation, I don't know that we finished it out. And that's really what we've preached and hammered and said, listen, and now we're at 3 wins, as many wins as we got last week. And the 24 hours is up. And it's kind of one of those things, like, if you want to be satisfied with 3, then don't bother showing up on Monday, because we got more work to do. As far as Friday night, we played probably the best football game we played in years, complete football game. And it was just because they went out and they played hard, and they, didn't get down. And, the last few weeks we figured out a way to finish things. And, in this game, 8-man football, 3 touchdowns is nothing. That can be gone and in no time. And so I was really pleased with how they came out and got after it. And, I know Freedom came out and they played hard. And it's just one of those things. It's cyclical. We had several years there where we were a pretty good football team, and now we're kind of coming out of that time when it was our turn to kind of take the bumps and bruises, and hopefully we'll just keep handing out the bumps and bruises rather than taking them.
How much did that Freedom team, the way they kind of run the power formation, how much did that remind you of like an old Aaron Academy? Or have you guys played somebody since Aaron Academy that kind of runs that power package that they have?
It's something that I think, I would certainly love to be that way. You look at that, and that's kind of my background in coming in is, hey, let's line it up and let's power it down. And, an 8-man, you've got to be able to score points, and you better be able to control that football. And, like you mentioned earlier in your show, Jake Ravelski kind of gives us that ability, but not, you would love to come out and be able to just pound it and hold the football and just run the clock out. But, that's not necessarily who we are. But to say who it reminds me of, I think Aaron Academy is a perfect one. I think, probably I'm the old guy in the conference, but probably everybody's kind of went through that type of offense at some point. Everybody's ran at least parts of that pound and run and pound game at some point. And I think you have to have a little bit of it somewhere in the playbook. When you get that opportunity, you can run that clock out. So,
speaking of Jake, and I know I said something about this earlier on in the show, you mentioned it. It's obviously coming into the year on our end, I was kind of wondering how that dynamic would work with Jake and David, both being great quarterbacks, Jake carrying you guys through last year, but David still having a great sophomore year, and then, he was going to have a great junior year. How great has it been to have them be able to kind of complement each other, use Jake as the closer, and what's the relationship like between the two of them? I'm assuming the understanding is there of their roles. You kind of have to know your role. It's like The Rock. You got to know your role and, just kind of fall into place and execute where you're at. So what is that like?
Well, I mean, we've preached more this year than we have in years past. Hey, it's a competition, and we don't want you having to worry. I mean, we don't have enough bodies to set somebody on the bench and say, hey, you're just not going to participate. You got to be ready. You got to be setting on go. And, that's kind of what I told everybody. You don't have an opportunity to sacrifice reps in practice. And so we've kind of fostered that competition, but they also bring 2 different skill sets. One is way more comfortable in one set, one is another, and they really complement each other. I think that there was some tension there until they kind of saw it play out. I guess it was, the second game of the season where we were really kind of able to switch it and kind of show how they can complement each other. And ever since then, they just kind of, I'm ready, setting on go, ready to go. And to have 2 types of playbooks that you can come from, I think that causes fits for the other team, and it really hasn't been a whole lot of pressure on our end. Whoever's got the hot hand, that's who we're going to roll with. And, we get in a situation like we did Friday night where we can take the air out of it and pick up yardage, then you can do that. I think it's really great. I think it shows the maturity of both of those guys to be able to be consummate teammates, and of course, Jake's playing a lot on defense too. So, it's not like he's completely shut out of getting in and getting some playing time, but, they both have been great.
Can you give us a spoiler? Tell me there's a couple plays in your playbook where they're both on the field and the team, and then the opponent has to prepare for 2 quarterbacks.
Come on, James. You know I'm not
Oh
gonna do
man,
that. You know.
come
I
on!
mean,
You gotta
You
probe
got me. Listen, we have a special relationship. You got me started on this broadcasting gig.
you gotta
We have a
probe the
special
question a lot
relationship.
better than that.
Man.
well, James, let me tell you, man, I've got a big game coming up Friday night.
Exactly.
Now, I can't be spoiling it. I mean,
Yeah, we might have some people from FCA listening to this broadcast. You
You
can't
think?
take any risks, but Coach, we haven't actually asked you about this, but this is kind of a two-part question. But obviously, with you guys being 2-1, you control your own destiny for the new 6-team playoff system. I know you guys have been the MTAC Bowl champions in the past, and you've embraced that wholeheartedly, especially with Riverside hosting the bowl game last year against Bowling Green Christian. But your big matchup against the Falcons this Friday is, as far as James and I will get a lot more in depth to it when we preview the games, but this is basically a matchup that could be the tiebreaker for the number 3 seed in the South. Obviously, depending on if Franco Christian can get some wins against Lancaster and Ezel Harding. It all depends on a lot of different things. But this game could essentially be an in-division head-to-head tiebreaker for who gets into the playoffs. So the two-part question is, how much more motivating is it for your players that they have a chance to get a shot at advancing to the MTAC championship? How much more motivating is it for your players as opposed to the bowl game? And what's the big message you're giving to your guys against this basically in-division tiebreaker match for that playoff spot?
well, I mean, you look at since we've come into 8-man, and it always seems like us and FCA are coming down for a spot in the postseason. I've told them they know this is the biggest game. And if you win this one, if you lose this one, the next one in division is a big game. It's the biggest game in program history.
Lancaster,
and you take care of business this week, and things get a little bit easier. But at the end of the day, it's Franklin Christian Academy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's really with my guys, and I think on their end too. I mean, last year that was a big win for us. It was, I guess, it was the last one we got for the season. We celebrated thus, as you would, and I've embraced the MTAC Bowl, but I've also been one of the main guys on the meetings going, hey, we need to expand this thing.
Mm-hmm.
We need to. There's no reason for us not to have 3 teams from each side, and let's do this thing outright. And
Absolutely.
so I'm super excited. However it turns, obviously we're going to do our best to win the football game and go out there and play the best we can. I feel like if we play like we did Friday night, then we'll have a great shot. But the bottom line is we've got too much good football in this conference not to have more on the line when it comes down to it. So this is what you play for.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is why you put on the helmet. It's why you put on the shoulder pads to go out and play games like this. And if you can't get up for it, then and as I told them Friday night, if you're happy with 3 wins, don't show up on Monday.
Exactly.
Okay, you can go find somewhere else, something else to do, because 3's not enough. And we got to get 4, and then the rest of it will take care of itself. But no, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, it's better than sitting in a hospital bed.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Let's go get it. Yeah.
Yeah. Now James is a big social media guy. I'm good at giving speeches. If we were to put in your ballot to get you on the college football playoff committee to vote for that 6-team playoff being added in, would you run?
He doesn't care. It's just another team for Alabama to beat.
I mean, that's possible.
That's coming from a defeated Tennessee fan.
You want 6 teams in?
Yeah, get a 6-team playoff. So that way, this is what I said.
He wants UCF in.
No,
that's what he wants.
Just so they can shut up. Just so they can stop.
I'm pretty
talking.
sure they got shut up last year.
Yeah, in that bowl game, I think they're finally done talking.
Here's the thing, though. If you get 6, you've got to be specific, because if you get 6, Alabama's going to get in every year.
That's true.
I mean, that's true.
Is that what you want? I mean, you got to go, hey, we're going Power 5 conference champions and 1 wild card.
At this point, I don't think it matters who we want. I think it just matters who gets in there. But, Coach, you guys, we talked about it, FCA, great team. They've had a little bit of a down week last week with CCS. Let me see how I can phrase this. I know you said how big this game is, but in terms of outside of the playoffs, we all know, you mentioned it, how big this rivalry is. even if this game was not for a playoff spot, let's say this game was the last week of the season, both y'all are eliminated, is there more intensity for the game there, or is it more intensity because of the playoff spot on the line?
I think regardless. I mean, last year I can't remember exactly the situation. I mean, I think it's what got us into the MTAC Bowl because obviously it was one of our last wins. But I think regardless, we played the game before with nothing on the line, and they brought it. There were times where they played for a championship, and made it to the championship, and we were nowhere even in the conversation, and they came after us, and I think it's the same way with us. Our championships usually come at the cost of them. Their championships come at the cost of us. And there's just a little something added, and it's not just football. Come to a volleyball between RC and SCA, and it's going to get rowdy. I mean, y'all think Riley Hall is fired up at football games?
I've seen him fired up at football and volleyball and basketball games. Man, he's part of the pep crew, that's for sure.
Oh yeah. So I mean, it's anything with those guys, and I think that it's at a healthy place now. I mean, and in the past, I think there are probably some situations that I wish we could have avoided, but I think now it's more of a respect thing. We come, we play, we get after, and then afterwards, hey, the best team wins, and you go your separate ways. You get ready to do it again in a few weeks, but I mean, it's extra, and I don't think that playoffs have to be a part of it to be that big, but it sure does add something to it. And I'm focused.
Well, Coach, we've been told that there's a big place being lined up for the MTAC Championship. We've been told that the backup side is Ezel. I'm still pushing for Riverside to host the championship because that's one of my favorite places to come. So we're looking forward to being down there Friday night. Appreciate your time, Coach. We'll let you get back to those kids.
All right, man. You take it easy. Thank you, guys.
We'll see you.
Yeah.
And March Madness champion, by the way.
That's true. Hey, I'm waiting on you to decide when you want. You thank gracefully you came on today, but you've got to make a call when you want to come on. What you want to do?
Okay. All right.
All right.
I'll be in touch.
All right. We'll do it. We'll see you, Coach.
See you.
James, how dare you reveal our Game of the Week broadcast on air in an interview?
Well, there's a
formula.
Speaking of formula, Spencer, if we have the coach on, more than likely we're doing his game Friday.
Why would you reveal that formula? People have to reveal it for themselves.
Well, Coach wasn't giving any spoilers. There's going to be a spoiler per show. I might as well give it.
Helmet schedules, top to bottom, everybody. We're into
Helmet
week
schedules,
6,
everybody.
and again, we're officially halfway through the season. It's amazing that we are already halfway through the MTAC season, and I can't believe that we're about to go down the stretch towards the playoffs. It's going to be fantastic, buddy. It's going to be great.
Can I give shameless self-promotion?
You always do. You always interrupt me whenever you want to give shameless
Go ahead.
self-promotion.
Nope. You're right. Go ahead.
What's your promotion?
Oh, just this little fact that I'm 20-3 through the first 23 games of the season.
Oh, okay. Your little competition with RFCC Lebanon.
Yeah.
So you're leading them by, was it 3 games now?
4 games.
4 games? Okay.
4 games.
He'll probably make it back to you and keep it close. Because last year you only won by 2 games, right?
I don't remember how many I won by last week, but me with all my insider information, yeah, I get that. But it's still 3 weeks before the season. Use this as – here's the thing, folks. Just because I predict you lose doesn't mean you're going to lose. 3 teams have proved me wrong. Use this as bulletin board material, if you even care.
I got good news for you, James, because it's good news in quotation marks. Because of Lighthouse's game against Sacred Heart being canceled, not every team is on a bye week, so you're not as stressed out to update the Tennessee High School Football
It's a terrible news. I'd rather have all these games to update.
You'd rather be distracted while you're trying to
Well,
call a
here's
podcast?
the thing, though. 2 games are on Saturday. So it's not like I'm having to update 6 games there, Spence.
That is true. It's only 4, I believe, 4 or 5 games on Friday?
4 games on Friday. No, hold on. 5 games on Friday, 1 on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Check me.
4 or 5 games.
No, there's 4 games on Friday, 1 on Thursday, 1 on Saturday.
The one game that's on Thursday, the Tennessee School for the Deaf faces off against the South Carolina School for the Deaf and Blind. So another game on the season for the Vikings to pick up, and with the with the motivation that they have against playing the Patriots and getting 20 points on them, the great plays from Lorenzo Curry, I think it's going to be a better story for them, especially since they're at home on Thursday.
I've got them picking up the big Mason-Dixon Conference dub. I got them beating South Carolina. Not going to pick the score. I want to be surprised.
You never pick the score anyway. So that's the
No.
only game on Thursday. Friday, the first game to kick off. Instead of going with the first game, we'll go top to bottom on the helmets.
I'll go with go top to bottom. There you go.
Bowling Green Christian Academy, they host the Lancaster Christian Academy Knights, and with the Knights being red hot, I want to see what their average score is for all the games.
Hey, that adjective's reserved for the Heat.
I want to see their average score from their last several games. I want to say it's 50-plus points per game, something like that. They may have had one game where they didn't score 50.
I think it's 50.
It's more than 50
it is
points
50.
per game.
But here we go, handy-dandy 8manextreme.com.
They scored 42 points against Christian Community, so not quite 50 on that.
But average.
Average, they're scoring about 50 points or more a game.
Average is 50.
That's what it's looking like.
You can find all those scores at 8manextreme.com.
Or the Tennessee High School Football app.
Or 8manextreme.com.
Or, yes. But the Lancaster Christian Academy Knights were scoring 50-plus points a game, and with Bowling Green Christian being 1-1 in the North, even though it's an interdivisional game, are the Knights of Lancaster going to be stopped by the Warriors of Bowling Green in Bowling Green?
Negative, Ghost Rider. Negative.
You got Lancaster.
I got Lancaster winning this ball game. They're going to keep rolling.
Even with the second best player in the league, according to the James Shannon Index?
Even with the second best. Listen, he's playing like the second best. Football is not a one-man sport.
It's not.
Basketball is. Baseball is. Obviously tennis. Hockey can be a little bit. Football is not. So you can have the second best player in the league. That doesn't mean that you're going to win every ball game. So, yes, he's still the second best player in the league. But I think Lancaster, Jordan Horde back in the mix. T.J. Robbins is rolling. Deuce Bragg is tearing it up. The Moore brothers, it's insane. So I've got that, and that's not to mention the line with guys like Jacob Anderson, Lane Spurlock, Nolan Adams. So I've got Lancaster picking this win up.
You got Lancaster winning against Bowling Green. Potentially what is going to be, we have two big divisional matchups this week that are going to shape the playoffs in one way or another. And the same situation that happened 2 years ago when the Patriots made that legendary playoff run and championship run. The Colts host the Patriots in White House for what is looking like it's going to be for the number 1 seed in the North. And between those two teams, I think you picked Christian Community 2 years ago. Do you pick him this time?
No, sir. I told you I shocked everyone preseason, and I'm going to do it again. I think South Haven goes into CCS, shock the system, just like Undisputed Era, shock the system. And I think South Haven I think they take the 20-minute drive back down 76, Battle of 76, come back to Springfield with the win.
And potentially, and if they get that W, they come out as the number 1 seed in the North as of the game win.
You mentioned that Lancaster only scored 42 on CCS, by the way. They scored 72 on Lighthouse, so it kind of evens out.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
So their average is 50.
Average is about 50 points.
Totally off topic, but
going back to the game we had beforehand. But Tennessee Heat, they travel down to Franklin. We'll get to that game because that's on actually we're going top to bottom on the helmet schedule.
Well, yeah, why stop?
Tennessee Heat, they face off against the Franklin Classical School Knights. We will be there for that game on Saturday.
Whoop.
That's going to be an epic action to see, according to the James Shannon Index, the number 1 player in the conference, Josh Austin, facing off against the Tennessee Heat. Again, one of those interdivisional games that it's not necessarily impactful in the playoffs because even though I would say potentially it'd be a tiebreaker situation between the Heat and the Colts, but Colts already beat the Heat, so it's not. So there's already a tiebreaker there. But it's still going to be an interesting matchup, especially with the red-hot game the Heat had over the Lighthouse Lions.
Well, it's still a rivalry game. If you remember 2 years ago, Classical blew out the Heat, and it was a situation where Clint Collins, who was one of the best receivers in the league, he ended up getting tossed out, quit the team that game. It's a very volatile rivalry, but Classical obviously having last week off. This is a chance for them to get back in the saddle against the Heat team that they've struggled, and they've succeeded. So it's been a Jekyll and Hyde situation. If Josh Austin can get after Brandon Goolsby early in the game, he might rattle him a little bit. They still have to deal with Carter Sutton. But then for Classical, you've still got guys like Josh Salstron, Jonah Rorchi, of course Sam Hubbard, who he had a great first game of the season and he's eased off a little bit. We'll see what happens. We'll see if he can hold up. We'll see if that line can hold up against that Heat defensive line rather.
So your pick?
My pick, the Tennessee Heat.
You think Tennessee Heat get
I
it
think
done?
Tennessee Heat pick up the win.
All right. We'll see if you're right on that. Lighthouse Christian School is the only team on the bye week, and we already went over Christian Community against South Haven. As we already mentioned, or at least James revealed, we will be live on Friday night from Fayetteville. The Knights of Riverside collide with the Falcons of Franklin, and we cannot build this hype up enough. This is for the number 3 seed in the South. Depending on other results, it'll be for number 3 seed in the South at that moment. And FCA could kind of shape their own destiny depending on how they face off against the Knights of Lancaster, the Eagles of Ezel, and the Knights of Franklin Classical. So it's this game for both Franklin Christian and for Riverside is crucial to figure out who's going to be that number 3 seed in the South because of course of FCA and Riverside having the better in-division records and kind of shaping their own destiny. But at the end of the day, regardless of playoff implications, both of these teams, Riverside is coming off of a great win against the Cowboys. FCA is coming off of a tough loss against the defending conference champions. This matchup is going to be amazing.
I've got Riverside winning this ball game. I think they put together a complete game Friday night. I think Franklin Christian struggled to do so, and I've got the Knights beating the Falcons.
It's going to be an interesting game for sure. The Ezel Harding Eagles, they travel for an early Friday game at 4 p.m. to the St. Andrews Suwannee Mountain Lions. Mountain Lions are 0-3 in the division, 0-3 in their overall record. They're hoping not to go to 0-4, but against the tough opponent of the Eagles, who have also scored 50-plus points per game.
They haven't scored fewer than 50.
They have not scored fewer than 50 at this point, even against the defending national champions. So it's going to be one of their toughest challenges yet on the season.
I've got Ezel picking up the win. I think Suwannee has done a great job all year, but they have struggled. Eagles have not struggled, except for against Evangel, but I've got the Eagles picking up the win.
So that covers all of the games for Week 6. Any shameless self-promotions before we sign off?
No, sir. We are going to take a break from Extreme Talk this week. We're going to take the episode off just with the busy 2 weekends and everything going on. Just going to take the week off, and we'll come back next week with another episode.
That'll be fantastic. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, Friday we will be live from Fayetteville for the Falcons and the Knights of Riverside. And then Saturday we'll be live from Franklin with the Tennessee Heat traveling down to face off against the Classical Knights. Thanks again for tuning into Extreme Radio, presented by GracePointe Healthcare. Go to GracePointeHealthcare.com, request your appointment online, mention you're with A-Man Extreme, and you get $20 off your new patient office visit fee. GracePointe Healthcare, modern medicine the old-fashioned way. And we're also sponsored by Dr. Sterling Foster. Visit drsterlingfoster.com for all your digestive issues and chiropractic needs.
You've already heard me say it. Jets Pizza, you need to bring back the BLT pizza. Bring it back. No matter where you are, specifically Springfield, Fort Campbell, Clarksville, it's always a great time to say J-E-T, let's get Jets.
You forgot the T. You said J-E-T.
J-E-T-S, let's get Jets. You know what I might do Thursday night? There's no episode of Extreme Talk.
You might get some Jets.
No, I might go back to one of my favorite websites, IHateBuyingInsurance.com.
You might.
Give my buddy Joe Graves a shot, our buddy Joe Graves a shot. Just see what he can do for you. That's all I'm asking.
It's going to be fantastic. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, we're live from Fayetteville for Franklin Christian Academy, traveling to face off against Riverside Christian Academy. And then Saturday, the Tennessee Heat traveling down to face off against the Franklin Classical School Knights. For James Shannon and all the hardworking men and women that make 8-Man Extreme successful, thank you for tuning in to Extreme Radio. We'll see you on Friday.
See ya!